you love ball like I do, After Dark's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Welcome, everybody, to the Resolutions edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We hope all of you are having a happy holiday season. I'm John Fanta. We've got Jeff Goodman here. We've got John Henson here. The three of us could run through all the things that we're looking to resolve in 2025. Jeff's trying to find a home, Jeff, right? That's a resolution for you.
Yeah, if anybody can help me do that and where to live, that would be extremely helpful because I might be at Henson's guest house soon.
Look, I don't have a guest house. I have in-law suites.
Okay,
I didn't make that much money, Jeff, so you know what I'm saying. But I got room. Don't worry about it.
Hey, John, it's like a phrase that I once heard somebody say. His credit card's good with you, right? That'll help you hit the golf course, do some fishing.
Sure.
Jeff, he said you could stay with him. He didn't say you could do it for nothing.
All right.
Yeah,
hey,
and
look,
I'm not sure he wants me fishing with him either.
I could. Hey, listen. I got some. You'd have fun, man. You know, I'm a decent bass fisherman. I'll give you that.
John, why doesn't Jeff in the new year, why doesn't he, in between his time in Delray Beach and whatnot, why doesn't he hang out with Roy for a week and just see what retirement looks like?
You're gonna be doing a lot of golfing, and you're gonna be doing a lot of golfing, and you're gonna be going to Carolina games. That's the lifestyle he lives. He goes to Carolina games.
I don't want that.
That's not a bad life.
I'm out. I'm already out.
Okay. All right.
I don't need to see those big men. Unless you're coming back to Carolina, unless you and Hansbrough got eligibility, I don't want to see any more of that. I saw him play Florida. I saw those bigs. And the good thing is, and we'll get to it, we'll get to Carolina later. You play those four guards, and at least they're fun to watch.
Yeah. They play like a bat out of hell when they get down, and that's that. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Let's get to our resolutions. What we have is 11 teams over the next hour that we're going to be telling you about. We'll go about 5 minutes per team. So let's get started with the back-to-back reigning national champions that have won 6 in a row. So they have already resolved some things, more than a few things. The UConn Huskies are 10-3. They're undefeated on the mainland. When they're not at the Maui Invitational. Jeff, heading into 2025, what would be your resolution for UConn?
My resolution will be for Dan Hurley. Stop taking shots at podcasts. Come on, man. Andrea Hurley was a podcast star at one time on the Field of 68 Network. Baller's wife, Andrea Hurley, Nicole Kellogg, the wife of Derek Kellogg, they did a podcast on our show, and he's taking shots at podcasts. I don't know who he was talking to, Fanta. Was he talking to Rob Doster? Was he talking to Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish over at CBS? He might have been talking to me. I don't know. Listen, I love Dan Hurley's enthusiasm. I love his personality. I do think he's great for the game. I do. I've said that over and over and over. And you're not going to find a better basketball coach in the country right now than Dan Hurley. However, I still will say this. I still think he needs to tone it back down with the refs because even he admitted it 2 years ago. When he did that, he was a better basketball coach. And when he did that, they started to go on that run that culminated with their first national title. So Dan Hurley, I love the emotion. I love the intensity, but harness it with the referees.
John.
I'm a give my resolution, but I'm gonna echo the podcast thing. If you're going, you're so brash and you like this, as we call it, stand on business. Just say who you're talking about. Just say it. Don't try to send riddles. You know what I'm saying? And if it is Field of 68, Jeff, all pub is good pub. You know what I'm saying? So, my resolution for UConn is to make Mahaney great again. He was one of the top mid-major guards, quite frankly, one of the top guards in the country last year. 2-time first-team all West Coast Conference selection. I mean, this is a kid who had to choose between UConn and Kentucky. Like, these are two powerhouse blue-blooded schools. I think mental than physical. Maybe Dan Hurley's style of play, maybe his confidence is down. But, going into the season, we thought he was going to be the guy, and he hasn't turned out it hasn't panned out to be what we assumed or what probably Coach Hurley assumed. So we need him to figure it out, get some good food, see your family, mental refresh, and come into the next season or the next year, because it's going to get tougher, and they are going to need him down the stretches. I think Hassan Diarra, you can't depend on him 30, 35 minutes a night.
No, now Diarra has been good the last couple of weeks for UConn. Over the last 5 games, he's totaled at least 7 assists. Over the last 4 games, Hassan Diarra has 36 assists. Is that sustainable throughout the rest of the season? I'm in agreement with you, John, on Mahaney, because you're right. Like, people say, well, the Big East is a different level from the WCC. Sure, but he still beat Gonzaga for a WCC tournament. He still was an all-WCC first-team selection. Like, he's seen the big games. He's played well in the big games. What's my resolution for UConn? Got to keep evolving defensively. They're 98th in KenPom defensive efficiency. They struggle to guard the 2s, the 3s, the 4s who can put the ball on the floor, create dribble penetration, and make shots. The Huskies are not built the same way as they have been the last 2 years. It's not Adama Snogo, Donovan Clingan, then last year Donovan Clingan, Samson Johnson. They don't have this elite rim protection. What does that mean? You have to be able to guard the ball better on the perimeter, because when they get inside, they're scoring. So for Connecticut, Jeff, I think my biggest thing with them is, one, are they going to be able to go on the road to the elite Big East teams and still be able to beat those teams to the same degree that they were? Your defense has to travel, and we have to see if that's going to happen. Are they a great offensive team? Hell yeah. Their offense can carry them in a lot of these games because they're just a better shot-making team than a lot of other teams. But I think my big picture concern, Jeff, with UConn is, conference tournament, NCAA tournament, just analyzing how they're playing. This is not a great defensive team yet. Doesn't mean that they can't be, but right now they struggle against guys who can score. And that's why I'm fascinated to see how they defend Cam Jones, how they go up against all those St. John's guards who can score. And in 2025, that's one of the matchups I'm looking forward to the most, is when UConn plays St. John's.
That'll be fun, because those coaches aren't exactly going to go out for dinner the night before.
Let's turn to our second team. This is an interesting team. I always think it's interesting because of the fact that they're as tough as anybody, but it's the Houston Cougars, who took 3 losses. But if you look at the analytics, they're top 5 in KenPom, top 5 in Torvik. Their record is 8-3. So, John Henson, I'll start with you on this. If you were Kelvin Sampson and you were mapping things out for your Houston Cougars in the Big 12, what would be your resolution?
Let's go with some offensive consistency.
I thought you might go there.
We're going to get to Iowa State, but look what has happened to them by them just getting a little bit of offensive punch. We've heard of the top-rated defense and so on and so forth, but they really have only 2 options to score the ball at a high rate, and I wouldn't even call them scores at a high rate. LJ Cryer is shooting better from 3 than 2, and Emmanuel Sharp, who's also shooting better from 3 than 2, at 48%. So the other 6 guys average between 5 and 9 points, and we've seen that be okay until you face the big dogs: Auburn, San Diego State, Alabama. Defense will only get you so far. You have to have some sort of resemblance of offense, and it's a sub 100 ranked offense on KenPom. It's going to be hard for them to get past the second weekend, which is what we're kind of used to seeing Houston do, right? They roll through the tournament, they kind of get to the Elite 8, Final Four type fringe, and then they lose. I think this could be a short season for them if they don't find some type of offensive consistency within the perimeter and not just shooting threes, because they don't hit those at a high rate either.
Jeff?
This one's easy for me. Feed Terrence Arsenault minutes. Go small, because they're tough enough anyway. You don't need to play the double bigs. You don't need to play that way. One big is enough. They're tough enough. I don't care which one. They're all tough as shit. But to me, go small, and they have. He started to play Arsenault more. I talked to Kelvin out in Vegas, and he said he might do this. But don't give up on it. You've done it in bye games, really, over the last couple of weeks. Stick with it in Big 12 play, even if it doesn't work early, because that's your highest upside. You're shooting the hell out of the ball as a team. Like, if I told you right now, Houston is 5th in the country in 3-point field goal percentage, everybody would be like, holy, no way. They are. So give up a little bit on the rebounding. Give up maybe a little bit on defense to say, you know what? We're going to have a chance with this lineup, with Arsenault playing some 3, some 4, at having a higher upside and maybe winning this whole thing if Arsenault, because he was so good a couple years ago before the injuries. He's so talented. He's different than everything else they have right now in terms of that big wing who can slash, who can score, who can also defend, and we'll see if he does that at the highest level. But that's what I would do if I was Kelvin.
Yeah, I think that for Houston, when you look at them, they're always going to be the toughest team on the court, and they're going to defend their tails off. So the resolution goes without saying. How do you tinker things offensively? If I were to look at anything with them, I would say this. There's 364 teams in the country. They are 361st in tempo. 361. That means they're the 4th slowest playing team in the country. And guys, that's where I'm all for. And this is also by design. I'm all for putting a team in the mud and out-toughing them. And look, Tony Bennett won a national championship doing that. Now, he also had a scoring punch on that team. As Jeff, we've talked through the years. Like, he also had Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy. He had dudes that could get buckets. But, like, when you're playing that slow, I would say, can you generate a little bit of pace, a little bit more than where you're at right now? And then the other thing is, it does feel like, I think the other resolution I would have is get Cryer, Sharp, and Uzan on the same page. Milos Uzan has had a solid year to this point in terms of assists. He's got 5 assists per game. Has the scoring piece been there? Well, they have Cryer and Sharp to do that, but I'd like to see Milos just find his scoring knack a little bit more in the new year and get those guys on the same page. Because to me right now, even in Vegas, it felt like they hadn't all the pieces to the puzzle hadn't fully been fit. Are they a great front court team? No. Which is why, Jeff, I think your suggestion of going smaller is a very good one. And so that's where the Cougars stand. Those are some of our resolutions. Let's keep it rolling. Jeff Goodman.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick-hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app.
The Alabama Crimson Tide. What would be your biggest resolution for them?
Shoot less threes this year. Sometimes you go in with a certain mindset. And obviously we know what Nate Oates' system is, right? Play fast, no mid-range shots, either shots at the rim or shots beyond the arc. I want more shots at the rim and less shots behind the arc because I don't think this is a great three-point shooting team. I really don't. And I think you added Chris Youngblood. That's going to help. That is going to help. He's been a really good shooter over the course of his college career, whether it's Kennesaw State or South Florida. But I don't think this is a great three-point shooting team. I would pull it back a little bit and rely more on these guys, especially because, if you're going to do that, Big Cliff, how does he fit into that equation as well? He doesn't seem to really fit Alabama all that well for the way they want to play right now. Jaren Stevenson fits better, but he didn't shoot it well coming out of the gates this year. He struggled from three. So I guess that's the biggest thing. I mean, I hope one of you guys touches on my other biggest thing that I would change. But for me, it's tone it back a little bit, Nate Oates. Don't shoot so many threes because they're up there. I think they're top 10-ish in three-point attempts this year, and that's probably not even enough for Nate Oates.
John?
I am going to go with a sense of urgency. When you watch Alabama, Mark Sears' kind of calm, cool, and collected personality, it almost like rubs off on them. But and it seems like Alabama turns it on and off when they need to or want to. And yeah, they got hot last year going into the tournament. Lightning doesn't strike twice. They need to have some sort of consistency with their sense of urgency. And sometimes you got to jump on teams. Sometimes you have to start the game off pressing. You have to start off scared. Or in this SEC, it could get ugly quickly, especially on the road. Specifically North Dakota State. We never felt like they were going to lose that game. But the lack of urgency had it as a one-possession game, and they were a three-pointer away from being down one with a minute left. So if we could get a little bit of sense of urgency in that locker room, if Mark Sears can kind of say, look, guys, we got to go from start to finish. We can't be cool. We got to play hard. We got to jump on guys.
It's not going to be Sears, Henson. It's going to be – and this is where Youngblood's the guy that they're hoping can not only add the shooting that I talked about, but also the leadership, the MFer, right? The vocal MFer.
Yep, that's what they need. That's what they need.
They need some of that. And you know what? Keep feeding Philon. LeBaron Philon has totaled 15 or more points in 4 of his last 5 games. Good things are happening when he's involved. Like too many times you saw Jeff in Vegas live. When he was involved in something, some good things were happening. Agree with you on Youngblood. The other thing is this. You know how we talked about how Houston's not playing fast enough? They could play a little bit faster than where they're going. Sometimes it feels like Alabama's almost playing too fast and everything's rushed offensively. Yep. You have so much talent. If you slow the game down a little bit, you can realize how much talent you have and be able to truly out-talent people. When you're playing rushed, sometimes decisions get made, poor ones. You end up taking a bad shot. And some of their shot selection has not been great. Like, it's the way Nate Oates likes to play with the threes. But it's also high percentage looks. The other thing is, Jeff, I want to get your thought before I move on. Like, if I'm Nate, I paid a big amount for Cliff Omori, and I've seen that kid make a big-time impact in the Big Ten. I don't know if it's worked out to the degree they thought it would, and I feel like maybe dumping it into him a little bit more could serve them some good because you play a little bit more physical. You get that edge. He could work his way to who knows, a better shot on the outside for a Youngblood or for a Sears or for a Philon. Like, Jeff, for what they paid for Cliff, I don't think he's made anywhere near close to the impact.
Yeah, and Henson can probably speak to this a lot better than us. Get him the ball early. Get him a touch or two early because then John, talk about this because you can talk about it better than anybody.
It's in the NBA. It's called throw him a bone. You got to throw him a bone. We would always run because Larry Sanders wanted the ball so bad because he thought he was the next coming of Kevin Durant. Love my guy Larry Sanders. Yeah. We would literally draw up an ISO play for him to do whatever you want to do. You go between legs, you can dunk, you can shoot a jumper. We don't care. And we hope it goes off the backboard so we don't have to give it back to you. So that's what they need to do with Cliff. Throw him a bone and let him do whatever he wants to do down there. Hey, if he scores, give it to him again, right? If he doesn't, that's why we shoot the three. So look, continue to do your role. So yeah, throw Cliff a bone. That should be my resolution. I like that.
That's good. That's where we should have started. That's so good.
Yes.
Throw clip a bone.
I'm glad we ended
bone.
up there. I'm glad we ended up there. That's great stuff, John. All right, let's turn to a top 10 KenPom team, a top 10 team in the country. Honestly, if it weren't Bruce Pearl, I think you could have Shaka Smart in the National Coach of the Year mix. He lost Tyler Kolek. He lost Oso Ighodaro. Everybody thought they might be, like a big might be a top 25 team. No. They could win the Big East again. They could go to the Sweet 16 again. But the Golden Eagles, where they stand, their resolution. What is it, Jeff?
Man, this was a tough one. This is really a tough one for me, right?
It was.
Like,
yes.
On one hand, I want to say just keep doing what you're doing to Shaka. But on the other hand, I think it's going to catch up with him if he doesn't go in the portal this April. And I don't want to go into that much because that's for down the road. That's for the future. But for the future, my New Year's resolution for Shaka is don't get comfortable just because it worked, because it's going to catch up with you if you don't hit the portal this year. But the biggest one for me is watching them the last couple games. I felt like sometimes down the stretch, Cam Jones didn't touch the ball enough, didn't get the ball in every possession. Like everything should be running through Cam Jones every possession in crunch time, because Cam Jones isn't just what I thought he was. He's not just a scorer. He's an elite passer. He's a playmaker. He's a do-it-all guard that, honestly, you want to go out and try to double him, he's going to find a teammate for an easy look. If you want to play him straight up, he could score from all three levels. So to me, it's Cam Jones cannot touch the ball enough. Get him touches every single possession in close games.
John?
Cam Jones is he's moved into the mock draft boards for the first round, rightfully so.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to have to go echo with Jeff's kind of sentiment on the portal, but I'm going to more consistency on the bench. You know, he's got like 5 rocks on his team, that guys that he trusts. After that, it gets sketchy. You've got to find some type of bench depth and consistency. I couldn't find the stats on their bench scoring, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly low. And some nights a bench can carry you, or a bench can buoy you until your starters figure it out. With Marquette, if Cam Jones struggles and the starting 5 struggles, it's a wrap. Cancel Christmas. They're going to lose. So as the season goes on, those nights will happen. They've got to find some type of way to have guys off the bench that they can trust for minutes that maybe need to be soaked up when the starters are not playing as well.
So if Cam Jones isn't going, stop with the starters. If Cam Jones isn't going, they're just not the same team.
Right.
I mean, if you take him off the floor, I don't even think they're a top 25 team. That being said, he is outstanding. I agree with you on the bench. I think it's important. Royce Parham and Demarius Owens, 2 versatile freshmen. It's important for them to just get going a little bit more in the new year and supply something. They're going to get a reinforcement with Sean Jones. Remember Sean Jones, the small little guard who's got this little engine, that good vibe. He defends, he's scrappy, he's up the floor. There's a nice addition for them. But another resolution is this. David Joplin, I love how hard you play. Shot economize. You're 30% from 3. He could shoot them in a game. He could sometimes shoot them out of a game. It's important to manage those situations in close games. And in the NCAA tournament against NC State, they could not hit the side of a barn. And honestly, what we didn't know it then, but like NC State ended up beating Duke. Like that was a Marquette team that still played them pretty well despite having an awful shooting night. But I think Joplin's shot economizing, how Jones figures into this is an interesting tweak. But I'm going to leave with this on the because Jeff, you started this Marquette segment by saying keep doing what you're doing this season in the big picture on the portal. I agree with you. They're going to have to portal. But I just read a story this morning. It just got dropped. Ben Steele put out a story at the Journal Sentinel. Marquette's best players here before the team left for Christmas. So they're leaders. Packaged together NIL money of theirs and gave it to their walk-ons.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
I mean, we do
that.
have to say,
Morning.
like, we do have to say, and John, I've heard Jeff enough on this, but Jeff, you always give great thoughts on it. But John, I think you could say this. Shaka has found the perfect program for him. Like, it's a between VCU. Texas is this football school, huge brand. There's always expectations. They don't win to the same degree in basketball. Like, John, it just feels like Marquette and Shaka. What a program fit.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was there for 7 years. It's nasty out there. It's cold. No one wants to go there. If you do go there, if you do happen to go to school there, you're there for basketball. That's it. And so it fits his profile. Being an Austin kid, yeah, Texas is like Hollywood, man. Like, he's not a Hollywood guy. He's just not a Hollywood guy.
No, he's a Midwest guy. That's what he is. Yep. He's a Midwest guy. He fits. He never fit in Austin. And he recruited the wrong guys for him when he went to Texas. That was the biggest thing. He recruited guys that really didn't fit the way, not the style necessarily, because a lot of those kids actually fit his style of going up and down, just like the DNA, Shaka's DNA of toughness, playing hard, playing harder than everybody else. Cam Jones.
It's tough.
Cam epitomizes it too.
Yeah. It's tough in Austin. I mean, you've got the $2 million board outside the practice facility. I mean, everyone's the NIL money's pumping through the campus. It's hard to get kids to focus if you don't have that type of pool, man. So shout out to him. Happy for him.
Shout out to him. Let's move on to a guy that's up for Hall of Fame induction. It's the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Before I get to the resolution, Jeff Goodman, tell the Hall of Fame committee what they need to know, why Mark Few should be in there.
I mean, come on, man. Like, just go to Spokane. Go to Spokane if you don't understand it. This dude has built a power at a place where it is insane. We talk about what Jim Calhoun built at UConn, and you go to stores. It's even more difficult all the way tucked into the Northwest in Spokane, Washington. And he's never had a bad year. Never has he had an off year. And he's done it his way. And that's going to lead me right into my resolution, which is please, 61-year-old Mark Few, don't go. Don't go. I'm scared you're going to go. You're going to retire soon. You got this Hall of Fame nomination. You're going to get in. So is Billy Donovan. You're only 61. You can still fish every day. You can still play pickleball every day. We'll work it into your schedule. Don't follow Jay Wright and Tony Bennett. I understand you're frustrated with the system, but the sport needs you. The sport, college basketball, needs Mark Few right now for his voice as well, for his coaching and what he's done for Gonzaga and for the sport, but for his voice, because he is unafraid to speak his opinion. There are a lot of guys that aren't like that, and Mark Few will say it the way it is, the way he believes. And I don't want him to go like next year or the year after, which I'm fearful is going to happen.
Yeah, I hear you on that. John, what's your resolution?
EK more minutes. You've got to figure out how you want to play. He's splitting minutes down the middle with EK and Huff at about 19 minutes a game. He's leading the team in points and rebounds in 18 minutes. I think that's enough for Coach Few to take him and play him 25 to 30 minutes a game. I think they would be better with him playing 25, 30 minutes a game. But I trust in the Hall of Famer. He knows more than I would ever know about basketball. So going to trust the process, but EK needs more minutes ASAP, and it better start after the new year.
Yeah, look, it's fair. I mean, and they fed him against Kentucky, and look what he did. He had 28 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists in that game. You know what mine is, guys? Got to calm down at times. Like, at times they just feel rushed. They run into mistakes. They gave that Kentucky game away against UConn. They allowed UConn's offense to then dictate how they were playing on offense. The other one is Nolan Hickman. Nolan Hickman has not been great in these big games. And he's too valuable a piece to the puzzle. And if he's not going to be great in these big games, then you got to change up your rotation. You know, against Connecticut, he really struggled. I mean, he didn't score in that game. Against Kentucky, he shot 1 for 7 from 3. Against Kentucky, Hickman, 1 for 7 from 3. Nembhard, 1 for 5 from 3. Battle, 1 for 5 for 3. So, Jeff, how you said it with Alabama, I get a little bit of the Gonzaga vibe of you gotta shot economize better at times. You have a big man, a burrowing big man. Just because it's not sexy, Jeff, doesn't mean that you can't go into him and get higher percentage shots.
Yeah, no, they got good bigs. They got good bigs, and that's the hard part for Mark Few. And it's going to be probably even harder for him to give Ike more minutes now that WCC play has started, because you're not going to play him 35 minutes when you're up a lot of these games by 20 points.
Do you think that they may be splitting minutes because he doesn't want Huff to go poorly and he's got to keep him happy?
Well,
could be.
Yeah, a lot of mouths to feed. You look at these minutes nationally on teams per game. Even when I'm getting ready to do some of these games from a play-by-play standpoint, I'm like, I've never seen this many guys play between like 15 and 21 minutes a game. Like, everybody's trying to keep people happy.
Yeah.
But guess what? When February, March rolls around and jobs are on the line, you better play the right people.
Right.
You better play the right
people. I think the other part of that is, now Gonzaga is probably not the right example here, but a lot of these teams, coaches are trying to figure stuff out in the non-conference because they've got so many new guys, right? So they're trying to figure it out before they get to conference play. Gonzaga is not that way. Mark Few knows what he has, going into the year.
All right, here we go. Back half of the show now. Our remaining teams. This one just makes me laugh. Jeff, New Year's resolution for Auburn?
More horseplay. More horseplay. That's what I would say. Because the horseplay has worked, boys. Whatever it is, whatever happened on that plane, it triggered something for these Auburn Tigers, because it resulted in a win at Houston. And ever since, this team has been an absolute buzzsaw. The number one team in the country, in my opinion. You could say Tennessee as well. Auburn's only loss came at Duke, in which they really didn't defend that night. But I would say, in all seriousness, for me, it's getting consistency out of Tahad Pettiford, the freshman guard that is absolutely electric for Bruce Pearl. He loves those small guards. He's found one here in Pettiford who offensively could score whenever he wants. Now, I talked to Bruce Pearl the other day about it, and he would like to see Pettiford be a little bit more of a distributor. His defense has been pretty good lately, but can he balance scoring and making his teammates better consistently? If he keeps coming and is consistent, period, I just don't know what Auburn's weakness is.
No. John?
That was the key. They don't really have one. So I had to go off the court. If they want to be good, I think injury is the only thing that derails them. Stay healthy. The Broom shoulder is obviously well documented, but they've got the highest rated offense ever. Shout out to Phil 68 for that post. They're just as good defensively. The only thing that can derail a team like this are injuries. I think back to my junior year, we all came back. We were number one overall seed. Kendall Marshall breaks his wrist, and we the season's over. We get bounced in the Elite Eight by Kansas. That is the only thing stopping this Auburn train. So stay healthy. It has to do with a little bit of luck, and that's just how it goes. But that's all I can really, if I can even criticize anything about this team, man, just health.
Don't let the best conference in the history of college basketball in a single season let you blink or allow you to think differently about how you're playing. The SEC is going to give everybody humbling moments. All these teams are going to beat each other up. The SEC is going to be outstanding. I can't wait for SEC basketball. Every game, every weekend is going to be fantastic. If you're Auburn and you're a great team, don't let a couple of tough nights then change anything of how you're playing. You have become great because you have the best player in the country, and you feed him, and you feed him, and you feed him. And then the shot-making piece comes when it does. They have a luxury of riches in their backcourt. You know they're always going to guard. That offense is an absolute wagon because they don't have to over-rely on Chad Baker-Mazara or Kelly or Denver Jones or Tahad Pettiford. who I think's been, don't lose that Pettiford explosive burst in the new year. Like, that kid is special, and they need him because he gives them some microwave moments. But at the end of the day, Auburn, my resolution for your athletic department, I mean, just January 1, just announce a lifetime contract for Bruce Pearl because he sure as hell deserves that language if it's not already in there. But just make it public. We will give him all the money in the world for the job that he has done because the job he's done is absolutely incredible. Here we go. John Henson, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Rocky Top, not so kind in the college football playoff, but for Rick Barnes and the Volunteers and Chaz Lanier, what do you think?
By the way, they got to fix that college playoff system. I mean, a home game for Ohio State, for all the marbles, they're going to beat 90% of the teams. But we're going to go to Tennessee. So it was hard for me because they're playing so well, but if I had to say something, it would be more three-point consistency. It's three-point shooting. They've got two guys shooting over 40% in Lanier and Gainey. Lanier's bringing up records and beating records that we start hearing the name. You start hearing the name Chris Lofton after with stuff you doing your thing. But everyone else on the team is shooting under 30%. So that could be something to watch as time goes on. Someone is going to crack the code to beat them. And sometime in the college basketball season, when the code is cracked, the season crumbles. So I don't know where they're going to find three-point consistency just because I don't see guys that are going to make them at a high level. But if I had a resolution, get the gun out, put some shots up, you're going to need three-point shooting in this tough conference of the SEC.
Jeff?
All right, so I don't know if you heard our podcast. Hummel and I had Rick Barnes on the other day. And Rick Barnes is known as the biggest practical joker in all of college basketball. One of the best, period. So Rick and I made a little pact to get Robbie Hummel. And my New Year's resolution is to Rick Barnes to live through on that promise. And the big thing with Barnes is, like, I've thought about getting him for years. Me and Mark Few were going to team up and get him about 10 years ago. And then people close to Barnes told me, Chris Ogden said, do not do it. If you get him, he is going to come back at you 100 times worse. Nothing is off limits. Whether it's your wife, your daughter, it doesn't matter. He will come after you at the highest level. So I want him to use that. I want him to use that type of emotion, and let's get Robbie Hummel at the highest level, Rick. So after the season, let's we'll huddle up, and we'll come up with the greatest practical joke ever on Robbie Hummel.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it. I like that. That's now that, and here's the best part. Robbie's not going to watch this, so he has no idea that this is happening. He'll never see it. So you just broadcast it to the rest of the world. The only way Robbie sees this is if Dalster or some clown sends it over to him. So my resolution for Rob is have a filter. Don't send it because Robbie's not going to see this, and they're going to get him very bad, and it's going to be epic, and it's going to go viral. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And maybe then they should have a statue of Rick Barnes before they build any statue of Robbie Hummel. That's the case. Look, Tennessee, I mean, Lanier's your bucket getter. You defended an incredibly high level. I think my biggest thing would be, like, I see Elite Eight. I could see, absolutely see a path to the Final Four. It's just being able to keep your offense diversified. Don't stray away from Igor Milicic, because when he is productive and active and doing his thing, it changes the dynamic of how they can play, because they already have Lanier, Gainey, Ziegler, and for Zakai's only shot about 29% from three. So if I'm defending Tennessee, I'm saying, you know what, we'll live with Ziegler taking threes. So if I'm Zakai Ziegler, use that shooting gun here during the Christmas break, right? Work on yourself. Work on your shot making, because if he's knocking down some shots, that makes them that much more dangerous. The fact is, though, there's not very much for the Volunteers to work on. They're damn good again, and I think it speaks to their program. We said coming into this year they'd be like 4th or 5th in the SEC, and right now you could argue that they're 1. And guess what? If you're arguing that they're worse than 2, that's because this league's so damn good, but they wouldn't be any lower than that because of how well they've played. They haven't lost. They're unbeaten. Has the schedule been a murderer's row? No. But you go to Illinois and beat a good Illinois team, an Illinois team that I think is a top 25 team. Iowa State. Jeff, the Wizard of Oz, Coach Otzelberger. What would you tell TJ to resolve?
I have so much for TJ, but I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to cut it down to two things. Number one, no more cupcakes, TJ. No more fattening up on cupcakes. Let's be done with this non-conference schedule. You just signed another extension. You are filthy rich at this point. You have the ultimate job security. Everybody loves you. I mean, calling you the Wizard of Oz. Like, no more crappy non-conference schedule where you can fill up on cupcakes. First of all, you don't need the cupcakes because if you keep eating them, you're not going to fit in those medium shirts that you wear. Okay?
Wow.
So it's twofold here. No more cupcakes, no more medium shirts. You might want to go to the extra larges now at some point. But no, in all fairness to TJ, I mean, he's done an incredible job. I think this is the most balanced team that he's had. You still have the culture, the toughness, the defense, all of that, and you have an upgraded offensive team with some of their offseason additions, including Joshua Jefferson, the St. Mary's transfer. So I think this team still is going under the radar, but part of the reason they've gone under the radar is because they have played a lot of teams in the 300s, and we haven't paid any attention to all of those games because again, they're cupcakes, and it's just I don't think it's good for the sport. I don't think it's good for Iowa State going forward. I get it last year. You didn't know your team was going to be that good. This year, everybody had them as a preseason top 5-ish team. You could have upgraded your non-conference schedule.
John?
They have a top 5 Ken Palm offense with, spearheaded by Lipsy and Gilbert. So I'm going to, even though they're top 10 defense, they haven't played anyone, right, Jeff? So they're just out of the top 10 defensively. So I would say get back to your defensive identity. Yes, you have a great offense, but you haven't really played many people and you're in a sub 10 defense. I think they need to get back to that mindset. I don't have many complaints. When I actually dug into the numbers of this team, I could see them as a dark horse Final Four team. And if they can get that defense to a top 5-ish level like they have the offense, I mean, this is a potential national championship team on paper. So don't have much, but hey, look, try to get back to the defensive-minded style that got you to the mountaintop, and the offense obviously will take care of itself.
Look, I think that when you think about Iowa State, it's a matter of Joshua Jefferson changing the complexion of their team this season. Jeff, you've talked about this at length of what he has meant to their group. They were looking for a scoring punch. He supplied that scoring punch. Know where your scoring is coming from against these elite teams. Too many times we're watching these games, and late in the game, we're asking the question, why does he have the ball? Why is he taking that shot? So for Iowa State to flourish and to truly go deeper in the NCAA tournament, know where your bread is buttered. You have an elite guard in Taman Lipsy. His leadership is fantastic. We saw it in Boston, Jeff. Lipsy was so awesome to talk to. He gets it. He understands it. But if you are the Cyclones and you're going to go to the places that you want to go to, fight the people who say they don't trust you offensively and show them that you are truly better on the big stage in how you get your shots. I think Keyshawn Gilbert has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. This has been a terrific season for him. He's having a hell of a year. But you got to be able, in these close games, because all these Big 12 games, the majority of them are going to go right down to the wire. Know who your best shot takers and best shot makers are. And I agree with Jeff. I do. Iowa State, there is no harm to scheduling up. By the way, you are up. You're not scheduling beyond the level of you. And that's why we're saying it. We're saying it because we respect your program enough to say you could play anybody in the country. Go and do it. Jeff, what is the harm of doing it? There is none.
Play a game. I've said this. They're boys. Nate Oates and TJ are boys. Play each other on November 4th next year to open the college basketball season. Play wherever you want. Meet halfway. I don't care where you play. You do a home and home. That would be even better over the next 2 years.
All right, here we go. Let's go to New York.
Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
The St. John's Red Storm are 12th in KenPom. 12th. They're 10-2.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, John, they look the part of a team. The Johnnies have not won a tournament game in a quarter century. They're 18th in Torvik. AP top 25. They've been hovering around the back end, but unranked as we're talking here. Jeff, what would be your resolution for Rick Pitino and the Red Storm in the new year?
So I'll give you two. One is more Rick Pitino on social media, more Rick Pitino on Twitter. That's
Really?
number one.
You want more of it.
And I want more of Richard Pitino killing his dad on social media. That's the best thing. The best thing is whatever Rick puts out, Richard just absolutely blasts him and makes fun of him. And I love watching that. That's fun. Number two, who'd you say earlier, Henson, that they need to get in the gun? They need to get on the gun more. Who was
that? Tennessee, maybe? That's Tennessee's getting.
I said Zakai Ziegler. Yeah, we said Zakai Ziegler.
Get in the gun more, some of these guys, because I think it's going to bite you in the ass in the NCAA tournament. They got a couple guys who can shoot it. Wiltshire can shoot it. Devion Smith's been shooting it well, but I mean, RJ is not shooting it well. Kadari, we know, isn't much of a shooter. Brady Dunlap doesn't play a ton. He's their best pure shooter on their team for sure. Aaron Scott's not shooting it well. Like, to me, you can win a game, maybe two in the NCAA tournament, but if you're not a better shooting team, you're not going deep in the tournament. And maybe that's not even, I don't want to say the goal, because obviously the goal for Rick Pitino isn't just to get in the tournament and win a game or two. But I think for St. John's fans, I kind of think that's the goal this year. If they went to a Sweet 16, I don't know, would St. John's fans be content with that, John, or do they want? I mean, I know they want more. More.
They haven't been
at the end of a year. Right.
Yeah. I mean, this program has not won a tournament game in 25 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Game. So they haven't been to the tournament in since 2019, and even then they were in Dayton. That was a game from hell between St. John's and Arizona State. Bobby Hurley won it, but it was not enjoyable. This is different. I think if Rick Pitino could do it over, he would have gotten just an all-out sharpshooter from three. A guy that just every time he catches and shoots it, he could drill it. They don't have that heading into the new year. Here's my New Year's resolution. You got to get Kadari Richmond going. Kadari Richmond is more talented than he's given them. He's shooting 21% from three. 21% from three. Guys, he is not that bad of a shooter. He's not. He's closer to like 35% from three. I'm not saying he's a three-point shooter, but damn, 21% means, John, if I'm scouting, I'm saying we will live with that all day long. The other thing is they're another team.
He's also shooting 52% from the line. 52%
After
from
81,
the line.
81% last year. 80% last year. So
80.
Wow.
You got to sit him down. Somebody's got to get him going. He's got to tell. I mean, I think the NIL may have hurt him a little bit because he got paid a bag, and he's just not playing well enough right now for them to compare to what they thought he would be. Here's the other thing: you got to get off to better starts. They've been an outstanding second half team. I mean, they might have the best second half scoring margin in the country if you look at their numbers outside the Baylor game.
Them or the team we're going to do last in this show. One of the two of them.
True.
Right.
Here's the knock on that last team, Jeff. Of surefire NCAA tournament teams, the Johnnies may have the best second half margin of any team. We'll get. Hey, come on, man. We'll get to it. But that would be mine for
Wait, upside down, Henson.
No, the upside down was much better. Was very appropriate. We'll get to them in just a moment. So that would be it. I mean, John, do you have any resolution for Rick Pitino?
I actually echo your sentiments. Find Pete Kadari Richmond. Numbers are down across the board. I think it's, if I had my guess, Pitino's a hard coach. He's hard on his players. And he's just one of those guys that if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to fight through criticism, and he's old school, he's going to yell at you, he's going to curse you out, but he loves you. I think that's what Kadari Richmond is going through. For one, learning how to be on a winning program and play winning basketball. And so I think that's why his numbers are down across the board. If he can this is a kid that probably was the number one guy in the portal, maybe in the rankings. So they've got to figure out what to do. Maybe need to sit him down. Him and Rick need to sit down and have a little kumbaya. Maybe call Aaron Rodgers over. You guys, everybody just chat and have a discussion about what we can do to be better. And St. John's will be better for it.
Yeah, got to get him going. Feels like they got a lot of pieces that you see the talent in spurts. They're extremely talented. I mean, they could win the Big East, and it wouldn't totally shock me. But they got to be able to get the shot making piece. They got to be better in the second half. They're a very talented team, and Jeff's right. It could come back to bite them if they're not making shots in the big dance. All right, two teams left. Texas A&M, buzzsaw. Jeff, if you called buzzsaw and said New Year's resolution, what would your resolution be for the Aggies?
I mean, go get a pure point guard at some point. Go get a guy that you just can give him the ball and calm the team down a little bit. And, Wade Taylor's a terrific talent. And there are times when he looks absolutely phenomenal, but there are also times when you can't trust their backcourt, right? I mean, they're electric at times, but again, they can make some crazy decisions, and the buzzsaw lives with it. I just wish they had one more guard that at times you could put the ball in his hands and say, hey, let's calm this team down.
John?
I'm going to go A&M basketball. I call them helter-skelter. That's how they play. But I would say let's get Wade Taylor healthy. There's kind of an undisclosed injury that they're not really telling us what's going on. He's a leading scorer, one of only two guys averaging double figures on the team at 16 points a game. Buzz indicated that he could be out a few games. He said he got a lot of wear and tear on his body. How about that? College basketball, they're saying kids got wear and tear on their body. But if he doesn't get healthy or he's not healthy coming into the season as their best player, they're stalwart, they're All-American, they're rock in their starting lineup who they need to be the best team they can. This could derail their season because they've always been on the cusp of being elite. And I like what Jeff said. Having a point guard, getting a point guard out of the portal or whatever you're going to do recruiting could take them kind of to the next level. Because I love their style of play, physical. They rebound, offensive rebound. They got the guard play. I love Buzz. I was in Milwaukee for a little bit and got to really see him coach and watch him play. He's perfect for that program.
Yeah, he is. They play football, but it works. You know,
Mhm.
they and what I mean by that is they're extremely physical. I mean, they're going to get you in the
Also,
mud.
hey, a late New Year's resolution for Buzz. Don't take 45 minutes to get to the post-game press conference. Go a little quicker, please.
When did that happen?
In Vegas, 40 minutes. I was busy eating my dessert by then.
Yeah.
What was it?
New
Banana?
Year's
What was the dessert, by the way? What was the dessert?
It was
by the way?
good. I had three. No, it was three. I had three slices of what was it? Some sort of pie. I had three slices because Buzz took 40 minutes. So I added like 5 pounds on because I only would have had one if he had come in quick in 10 minutes,
Wow.
15, maybe 20, 45 minutes. You know, Henson, I've covered enough NBA games. Those NBA stars are the only ones who take 45 to like Tatum and those dudes now. And it's not Tatum's fault. This has been done years ago, like an hour plus. An hour is quick for an NBA star to get to the
Oh
point.
yeah, they're gonna soak the feet. They're gonna ice the knees. They're gonna get in the shower and get their massages. I mean, that's just how it goes.
My brief A&M resolution here before we get to our final team is I think you got something with Pharrell Payne. You got to get him going more. He had 16 against Purdue. He's been in double figures 3 of the last 4 games, but he's only averaging about 7 on the year. It's Taylor. It's Zurich Phelps. You got to get a third wheel offensively. Payne could be that guy, and maybe a little bit more of a touch for Manny Obaseki. But I think that Pharrell Payne, there's something untapped there. And in the new year, get him going, and we'll see what happens. Here we go. This is how our show ends.
Can we clear out? Can we just clear out for Henson on this one?
Show us that sign here, John, to show us who the last team is for resolutions.
I had a old girlfriend, and she said, "I wish you started like you finished." And so that is my New Year's resolution for the North Carolina Tar Heels. We've seen furious comebacks. They're down 20 against Dayton. They win. They were 3-point away at Fogg. They were down 18 at UCLA, and they found a way to win. Imagine if they had this sense of urgency when the ball tips. The defensive and offensive aggression goes to another level when their backs are against the wall. So if they can find a way to duplicate their finish like they started, now we're talking about an NCAA tournament lock, which they're going to have to win 14 to 16 games in the ACC for them to get to that point.
Right,
you know what I'm saying, John?
I cannot get that line out of that's all I'm going to be thinking about every time I watch Carolina now.
Yeah,
it's John Henson's line about the ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, gotta start. Hey, wish you start like you finish.
It's true. Hey man, it's true. It's true. I mean, Jeff, but it's not just that. I mean, the obvious resolution is for heaven's sake, you should be looking at any available portal options for the front court now.
Sure. Go overseas. I don't care where you go. Like, send your entire staff, okay? Send Sean May and Marcus Page and Brad Frederick and Jeff Lebo, all of them. Send them out over the holidays and just say, like, hey, don't come back until you bring me a big man. I don't care who it is. Bring me a big man from Lithuania, Croatia, Serbia. All of you, bring me one.
Come on.
Bring me one big. We'll find a way to raise the money for NIL. I would say this, though, on a serious note. What I would do is I would just go small with those 4 guards because Ian Jackson, or as Tyler Hansbrough likes to pronounce it, In Jackson, is a legend. And he gives them that dude who can go get one.
What does he call him?
In Jackson. In Jackson,
baby.
I mean, ball does go in a lot when he shoots, so Tyler might have something here.
He's good, man.
But again, listen, Cadeau, we know, can't really shoot, okay? As much as Hubert tried to convince everybody, probably including himself, at ACC Media Day, Cadeau can't shoot. So you got to surround him with guys who can. So Ian Jackson, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, at least you got 3 guys out there that can take some pressure off. I would play those 4 guards and whatever big you want to throw out there and press and press and press. And I think that's your best way. Honestly, that's your best chance. And yeah, you're going to get killed in the glass, but you know what? And it's the opposite of Roy Williams. Like, that's the crazy part, right? Like, if they do that, it's the complete opposite of how Roy played. But I think that given your personnel and what you have on this team, that's your best chance to win games.
John, one more point from you on anything that they could do to resolve things.
Yeah, the brand, I don't think it should be hard to get it. I mean, there's kids that their dream school is North Carolina, so it kind of does confuse me that they didn't have like one big guy or someone to come in and fill that role, whether it was the money or maybe they thought they would be okay, maybe they allocated asset. This is a pro team, essentially, how you have to manage a college basketball program, right? If you don't have any money, at North Carolina, kids may not come, unfortunately. So they've got to go find a big. I think they will. I mean, they can literally say, hey, look, there's nobody else for us to play. So you get to play 25 to 35 minutes at the big man school, which is going to have a spotlight on the big man next year. If I was a 5-star recruit, I'd be running to Chapel Hill.
Here's mine. Hubert Davis, send Chapel Bill a Christmas card. Become best friends with Chapel Bill Belichick. Become best friends. Just have a great relationship with him. Say all the nice things. Both of them, if they're both friendly, why? Because I'm looking at I'm pulling
He's
out
got a
my
lot of
credit
money.
card.
Yeah,
I'm pulling out my
money.
credit card. And you know what? Chapel Bill's going to produce a lot of revenue. Not that Hubert doesn't have it, but you can always use more of it. And ask SEC basketball coaches how having good relationships with football helps you in your wallet and what you can give people. Carolina, you cannot have this poor of a front court again. Why? Because the guy that's on this show right now, because of another guy that we have in our cast, the standards are too high for them to not have a good enough front court here. But I agree with you, Henson. Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, who I think can be a spark for them, and Cadeau playing under control. When he plays under control and he can't shoot the basketball well. Trimble, Seth, when you're not shooting it well, take the ball in the rim. There are pieces there. I still think they find a way in the tournament, but damn, heading into next year, this is not a Carolina team that sneaks into the back end of the tournament and makes the Final Four like a couple years ago. They don't have good enough size on the interior. I don't see it to do that. All right, fellas, that's 11 teams. It's just a little bit over an hour. We wish all of our listeners, all of our viewers, a happy holiday season, a happy new year, and we appreciate all of you guys for taking in our coverage. We know you don't always agree with us, but that's the fun of the debate, and we look forward to an absolutely outstanding 2025 as we say so long. This has been Field of 68 After Dark.